Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thunderous applause. A beautifully made film with, I guess, found footage. A lot of questions to ask about it. The way that you put it together. It says at the end that you were entrusted with the reels 10 years after he died. Is that right? Did you already know the story? Did you come after the story? Did you look to get the reels? Did you ask them for them? How did you know about the story?
So basically, we shot another project years ago in Eilat, and this is how we knew the family. We also met the doctor when he was alive, or still alive. And we also saw Clarence the crocodile outside the garden. It was still there. So we knew the family, but it's only 4 years before we started to make the movie that we actually came across the material. We didn't know about that. Just we decided to go to the family one day to see how they are, because we thought they're interesting. And maybe 30 minutes after we arrived, they asked us if they ever showed us the reels, and we're like, never. And this is how we came there, and we realized we have a film, basically.
And you guys had been working together for a long time. I mean, I read that you're a freelancer in general, 20 years of experience as a freelance editor. But had you worked before with Itamar?
Yeah, Itamar and I know each other for more than 15 years. We worked together in several projects. And in this project, we decided to work together as director, editors, and producers.
Well, it's a beautiful collaboration, I have to say. So how many hours of footage do you have to work with when you wanted to tell this story?
So we 8mm, we had something like 50 hours that we had to watch without any sound. And then we also continued to the video, because Dr. Morris and his son we kept shooting after the invention of video. So we had another something like 300 or 400 hours of that to watch too. But as you can see, we made a very serious decision about the 8mm.
And when you did to tell the story, I wanted to ask right at the beginning, is there some sound from the 8mm film, or is there no sound from the 8mm film?
No sound from the 8mm. We basically created from scratch. We work with Aviv Aldema, who is one of the, he's a master with sound design and mix. But we started to build the soundtrack from scratch in early stage, in what we call the offline stage, because we immediately, when we start editing, we realized that the emotional part of the story comes from the sound. And without the sound, we cannot feel the family's perspective. So we use a lot of sound, and we put it together in very early stage.
Yes, well, there's a lot of footage where it's very, very clear that it's sound that you added on, and there's certainly scoring that goes with it too. So that all enhances the emotional content and the storyline as well. But there's other elements that are, I mean, very trickily done, where it sounds as if it's the 8mm sound. Little footsteps or little bits of voices and things like that. That's got to be very difficult to do. I wanted to ask you, when you decided to tell the story, there's a bunch of different layers to it, but it starts right away with sort of a mystery, which is announcing that I fit right in, there was a place for me. And so we know there's some kind of an adoption, that she came into this household, but we don't know exactly why. And we begin to get a sense of it when we hear about Aviva and that she got sick and that she had Down syndrome and so forth. So there's going to be a replacement coming along the way, but we get notified about it ahead of time. How did you break it down after you'd looked at all the footage, break it down as to how you wanted to tell the story that way? Can you describe that a little bit?
Yes, I mean, the first the first step we did is just to watch the footage as pure as can happen. You know, we just sat there watching it, trying to see what kind of message Dr. Morris wanted to leave after him, basically filming this footage. And then later on, we started to also to interview the family. So little by little, we got more information and started to work with this information. And I think it was very clear to us in a certain point that we want to go more or less chronicle with the story. Though we started to play also with we call it flash forwards, when we see the kids a little bit later, what's happening with them. And the idea to put this little beginning, this opening scene, is really to create a little bit of tension and in the beginning, and then I think it makes a very beautiful feeling in the end when you close like the circle, basically.
Well, absolutely. It really makes it hold together. And the different elements that come along because of that tension is, when will that happen? At what age? And then as you chronicled what it was like for her growing up. And so at what point did you start to match the voiceovers? Because the mother's voiceover was incredible, and she was so astute in her observations. A couple of quotes of hers were stunning. The fact when she said the empire was left in our characters. After, you know, the empire's gone, but the empire's left in our characters, and the footage of their tea at 4 o'clock, and various things about their upbringing, and then her confession at the end that she was a cold person and so forth. I mean, I was throughout the whole film at listening to them doing their voiceovers. I wanted to meet them now and get to know them. So when did you start to do the interviews and start to match that to the footage with all the different the grown-up people?
Well, Itamar and I live about 5-hour driving from Eilat. So each time we went down to Eilat, which located on the border of Israel, Egypt, and Jordan, we did our best to get as much as we can with the family time, listen to them, record them, and unfold their story. I can say that, as Itamar said at the beginning, when the first time we went down to Eilat, we discovered a film that was ready to be made, but we also discovered a great character, bigger than life, Faye Morris, who was 88 when we first met her, and she still lives in Eilat. I talked to her grandson actually this morning, and he told me that she's fine, she's well, and she's still waiting for a letter, not from the queen, obviously, from the king. So basically I think maybe 90% of what she's actually saying on the film is from the first interview. We felt like she's ready for us. Unfortunately, fortunately, it was us. She was ready for somebody to come and hear her story. And she was very articulated, very confident. And we were amazed by how clear and interesting and amazing she is. And then we started talking to her other kids. We talked with each family member alone, because at early stage we realized that our film is dealing with memory, with the way each of us remember a story, which the way each family member have his own perspective. And after we have all this conversation, we start put them together. So basically, we start with their story, and then we start matching the footage.
It was so beautifully done. And when you were doing the interviews, were you filming the interviews or just taping the interviews? Was it just audio, or did you film the whole thing?
We played with it. I mean, we played with it. We weren't sure exactly. I mean, we were thinking about it more as conversations and then interviews, and we tried to make it as intimate as possible. In the point where we realized we're not going to use the actual footage of them talking, we did go back only recording them. So yeah, we play with different ways of how to make it work, basically. So most of it, some of it is filmed and some not.
And I'm not sure if it's an indication of what their upbringing was like, but I think all of them, in addition to Faye, were very self-aware, really had a clear grip on what their childhood was like, and very articulate about it, and very heartfelt. I thought it was sort of compelling that way. Speaking about the technological part of it, when you had there was a lot of stuff that you sort of matched the 8mm film. So when you had some text, sometimes it was over blank screen, but it had a lot of grain on it and a lot of pop on it and so forth. So how did you make that effect work?
Well, both of us, Itamar and I, we 8mm lovers. So we love the footage, we love the material, and we want to keep as genuine as we can. And second, we want to, because Dr. Morris himself edit some of the reels, we want to keep as much as we can his editing. So obviously we did a lot of editing, but we kept as much as we can his cinematic language, also in editing, and we give as much as we can the material to speak out.
Okay, and yeah, so well, it all fits together really well, because obviously there's pieces that you put together that are just sort of blank footage, and it all pops. Now, when you were doing the editing, you're not using digital editing, obviously, or you do it all with tape and cut, like old 8mm? What?
On computer.
On the computer, okay.
Yeah.
So, well, thank God for that, because it's a lot of editing to do.
Yes, of course.
Well, one of our purpose was to digitize the whole Dr. Morris personal archive for the next generation. We feel that it's a very, very unique personal archive, and we wanted to stay for everybody to see.
And I think that's great. He's kind of an amazing filmmaker. I'm looking at how did he get into the first grade classroom and get below a desk, and all the children are acting as if there's nothing going on. That was kind of remarkable. A lot of his other inside footage. Now, this film has gone on to win an award. And how long has it been out?
Since 2022, Doc Aviv.
Okay, so and in winning the award, and is it being screened in Israel? Has it been screened in Israel?
Yes. It was actually very successful here in cinema. It was playing in the movies, and a lot of people watched it. And after the first wave in cinemas, we kept filming it in different ways, also in actually all over Israel, and also in the world.
Well, that's spectacular. And had the family seen it a few times? Did the family go to festivals, to go to screenings with you?
Well, yes. I can say that since they were so generous with us and entrust us with their family treasure, it was very important for Itamar and I, the Morris family, to be the first to see the film. So when we have a fine cut version, we went down to Eilat again and screened the final version to all Morris family in Faye's kitchen. And they were graceful as always. And it wasn't easy for them to see our point of view on their story. But they didn't ask us to change anything. And I can only relate it to the fact that their father had been filming them their entire life, and in some way prepared them for this moment.
Well, yeah, I think that became clear when they acknowledged, which I was waiting for them to acknowledge at some point, what a pain in the ass he must have been. Because not only the outfits, but then the 3 takes on the swans. And, you know, I can't imagine how many takes there were on other things, that it was just like he was trying to get it right. So being an auteur as well as a doctor, quite a thing. But I think we have time for a couple of questions from the house if there's a microphone available. Do we have any questions? I can't see if anybody's raising their hand. No? No? Okay. Oh, wait. Yes, right there. Please. I think, but while we're waiting for the microphone to get there, I just want to say that it's my belief that maybe the family was not only prepared by Dr. Morris, but I think that throughout the film, I was just so impressed by the respectful way that you dealt with the material, and it was so well matched to their very honest and forthcoming answers to your questions, and as they sort of told the story for us. And so it wasn't that much your point of view on it as them telling their own story, and so clearly and so beautifully that it'd be hard to object to that, I think, from where I see it. Okay, please, you have the microphone.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you both for the film. And I'm interested in your courage. You've made a poetic original piece, and it was quite courageous to take it on. It was a stretch. And I doubt you were paid to do it until after. I don't know. What was your background? Are you usually so courageous? And what are you working on next?
Well, what an amazing question. I think me and Meitall are, if I look at everything we've done together and not together, we always come with love to the subjects we film. And I think this is where we feel the most comfortable and also motivated to make the movies, actually. And the Morris family really caught our hearts very, very deeply, and with their honesty and their magic. And of course, the cinematic work of Dr. Morris was unbelievable for us to. I mean, I think also Meitall talked about the archive and how important it is. And Israel is full of archives that are made by the state and the army or different institutions, and it's quite rare to find a private personal archive like that in Israel, and we think it's very, very important that it exists, that people made that. And I mean, also the cinematic part of just the fact that it could hold 8 millimeters as long, you know, to make such long shots with 8 millimeters, because we know 8 millimeter work, usually they're cutting very fast. It's a little bit like maybe still pictures. So back to your question, I think they gave us honesty, they gave us trust, and we just felt empowered with that, and we went with that. About the future, well, I mean, we both work in different projects now. It's too early to talk about it, actually. Unless, Meitall, if you want to share, I can talk about it from my side. So no.
Please.
Okay.
She's not talking. I think
No.
we can have one more question
Okay.
if the microphone wants to go. Yep, right there.
Thank you. Beautiful film. And the only person I'm missing is Dr. Morris. Wondering, was there material on him? And it was a deliberate choice to exclude, or he's the mystery behind it? Can you just address the character of Dr. Morris?
True. Dr. Morris is still a mystery, and we feel that's the way he wanted to be. He loved to be this mysterious British doctor, a pilot, maybe a spy, maybe there were a lot of stories about him in Israel and in Eilat, and he loved it. He didn't bother to say what's true and what not, what false, and we respect that. Also because we feel he's present in the footage. We feel that the best way to know Dr. Morris is to look at the footage, and still he's the one that closed the film with his beautiful last words that we were fortunate enough to, I mean, with the Morris family, everything is on film. But we were fortunate to have this footage from Andrew's iPhone. It was really in the last couple of months of editing when we stopped by to visit Andrew to have lunch with him and his wife. And all of a sudden he said, like the Morris family's way, very casual, he said, oh, well, guys, I have this little clip when I shot my father right before he died. And we were like, oh my God, another surprise. So yeah, we feel that Dr. Morris is very present with his footage, and he gives the great ending.
And I'm not sure how much editing he did on it, but he's obviously an Antonioni kind of an auteur. When he put together that party footage was kind of incredible. He was a filmmaker on the loose. So that was another part of his mysterious character. Thank you both so much for bringing us this wonderful film. And I wish we had more time to talk about it, but we have to go now. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, Godspeed and good luck with your next projects. And thank you so much for this one. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Now, there's more applause going on right now. We can't hear it.
Thank you.
We believe you. Thank you very much.